from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Packle, and this is Magnus Packle GVA, Global Views Africa. As you know, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In View today, we look at global partnerships for human capital development and economic growth in Africa. African leaders now recognize a needs-based approach to human capital development is crucial for the continent to leapfrog in achieving industrialization. Seeing how Asia has developed its human capital by adapting it to their needs. We will use a couple of video interviews and commentaries to show how good global attention to human capital development in Africa can end poverty and accelerate economic health and development in the continent. It is clear that Africa will have to put in place strategies that support investments not only in infrastructure and institutions, but also in its people, increasing the speed in achieving basic human capital growth targets. But before this, in our hidden economics, if you plunder the poor, you plunder the country. Now, up next in our quick view, we rank investment freedom. That's coming right up. The Investment Freedom Index, published by the Heritage Foundation, is an annual index that evaluates a variety of restrictions imposed on investment by the governments of nations. Public investment has arisen from the need to provide goods and infrastructure or services that are deemed to be of national interest. It covers items like infrastructures, human capital, business, real estate, training and development, and so on. As provided by the index, restrictions on investment may include burdensome bureaucracy, repatriation of profit, expropriation of investment without fair compensation, restrictions on land ownership, security problems, and lack of basic investment infrastructure. The index score ranges from 0 to 100. The higher a country's score, the lesser the restrictions imposed on investment and vice versa. In this connection, which of the following countries has the most investment freedom in the world? Denmark, Estonia, Ireland, or Luxembourg? Which of the following key countries is among the top 4 in investment freedom in Africa? Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, or South Africa? Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. You can also send your answers to our social media handles and win a prize. Still in view, global partnerships for human capital development and economic growth in Africa. Now up next in our hidden economics, plunder the poor, plunder the country.
She could have married another, but that
That song, Mutima, by Bobby Wine, featuring Nubian Lee, whose real name is Burkina Ali. Bobby Wine, born Robert Kyagulanyi, is a Ugandan politician, singer, and actor. He's a former member of parliament in Uganda. The song Mutima is a song about a woman who chose a certain guy as husband among many suitors, only to be terribly abused by the husband. So the question to the husband abusing this hapless woman is put this way: Uluwuza awulila ki kumutima, which translated from Swahili means, what do you think you are feeling in your heart? This, of course, to the abusive husband. Knowing Bobby Wine, it won't be too far-fetched to find a political connotation or coloration in this song. So let's go ahead then and stretch the matter from marriage and married life into politics. Well, according to the song, the woman wants a loving man, not a commanding one, a compassionate man, not an abusive one, and she wonders why he makes her cry. Well, the top problem facing Africa today is poverty. The African variety of poverty looks different from what is now typical in much of the world. If we use absolute measures, more than 70% of the people in most African countries will be classified as poor. Consider that the poor in many sophisticated or advanced economies have refrigerators, automobiles, microwave ovens, and air conditioning. So, there you have it. In 2018, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS, recorded that there were about 12 million registered vehicles in Nigeria, with a population near 200 million people at that time, suggesting about 40 million households. Assuming a car per household, which I know is not really correct, but please just pretend that it is, then it would mean that 70% of households in Nigeria are car poor. But we know it is worse than this. So moving right along, the duty of all these politicians running around campaigning is really to provide leadership for getting out of poverty. However, what has typically happened across Africa has been the plundering of the poor. But in the Holy Bible, in Proverbs chapter 22, verses 22 to 23, it says this: "Do not rob the poor because he is poor, nor oppress the afflicted at the gate, for the Lord will plead their cause, and plunder the soul of those who plunder them." Whoops, this is serious. It is likely there will be something similar in the Quran. It is a problem because suppose the people who plunder the poor are our leaders, then it means that any judgment against them might fall upon the nation and therefore upon all the people. Not our portion, as Nigerians would say, but it will be our portion if we fail to elect the right people. And our time has come again to elect our leaders. Folks, check carefully. In countries where leaders plunder the poor, the leaders and their families are themselves often in fear and indeed perpetually under the threat of kidnapping or attack. There is usually insecurity and social fragility, threatening state collapse. So it is bad economics for everyone and for the nation if you elect someone who plunders or seems to permit the plundering of the poor. Plundering the poor causes the price at a given quality of life to rise sharply for everyone, because there is a decrease in the number of people that can boost the quality of life in the economy. So don't plunder the poor. The economics of doing so is terrifying. our hidden economics.
Responsible. We must me waka ukoma wachiro ngano wo babakazi bukwe kubye olugamba ko we no sajalada lelo so we sate we tonda ko you are the man and she is the woman but man not woman should be responsible.
She want a loving man, not a commanding one, a compassionate man, not an abusive one. Ono oza wole la chiko mutima.
Before we start our discussion, here are our quick view answers. Luxembourg, with an index score of 95, tops the world in investment freedom. Ghana, with an index score of 70, ranks at number 4 in Africa, behind Cape Verde, Mauritius, and Cote d'Ivoire in investment freedom across Africa. Nigeria, with an index score of 45, ranks at the 37th position in Africa. Let's get to it. So, everybody knows by now that I believe that the solution to Africa's underdevelopment is human capital development. In their meetings in Bali, Indonesia, the World Bank announced their Human Capital Project. And this is setting the tone for the world to more correctly attack poverty and underdevelopment. So, in this regard, we will lean on a couple of interviews and commentaries to tell our story today on global partnerships and human capital development in Africa. I'm Professor Magnus Paco, and I'm inviting you to join me in our meeting annual global conference of the Africa Forum at the University of Texas at Dallas, AFUTD. It is an arena to share ideas and practical solutions to the huge human capital deficiency problem in Africa, using study tours, product expos, lectures, seminars, workshops, debates, culture, and fun to promote global business partnerships and other productive relationships with Africa. So first, let's listen to Bismarck Riwani, Managing Director and CEO of Financial Derivatives Company Limited, on a CNBC show as he discusses how Nigeria and Africa can succeed, as the World Bank has suggested, by investing adequately in education, health, and other activities.
There's an awareness of the dangers of not doing it. It's quite clear that there's a correlation between the investment in education and aggregate output 5 to 10 years down the road. In fact, it's getting shorter. And investment in the type of quality of the education, the quantum of the education, right? The monitoring and the persistence ratio in terms of reading, writing, and recognition, the 3 R's. So all of those things are being put together with vocational education. So it's, and then so the outdated and outmoded education of the past. So you've got to retrain a lot of people who claim to be educated but are miseducated. So we have to educate the miseducated, we have to educate the uneducated, and we have to train those there now in both contemporary and futuristic skills, so to make them competitive both domestically and globally.
Next, I invite you to watch this video from the World Bank on how we must invest in the people and their human capital. Let's take a look.
The wealth of a nation is not just in its produced capital or natural resources. It's in its people. Their skills, their health, their knowledge, and their resilience. People and their human capital are pivotal to the transformation of African economies. But the average child born today in sub-Saharan Africa will be only 40% as productive as she or he could be with complete education and full health. Launched in 2018 by the World Bank Group, the Human Capital Project is making a powerful case for investing in people. These investments can add 1.8% to African countries' annual growth over the next 50 years and pay economic returns for generations to come. The World Bank's Africa Human Capital Plan identifies several game changers to accelerate human capital development. First, empowering women and girls is key. This will directly improve human capital and can create a demographic change that can significantly impact poverty and human development, as well as fragility, climate, and inclusive economic growth. Second, preventing the loss of life in fragile and conflict settings and supporting displaced communities to increase human capital must be a major focus. Third, developing human capital requires multi-sectoral solutions. It's about more than education and health. It's about access to transportation, affordable energy, good governance, and interventions across other sectors like agriculture and water. It's also about social protection systems that help the most vulnerable cope with crises and shocks, find jobs, and invest in their family's future. Fourth, harnessing the opportunities that technology and innovation offer can improve human capital outcomes and productivity in many sectors.
Now, Africa can learn some lessons from other regions and countries. Let us show you here a footage from a Bloomberg Global Trade discussion in which Sri Mulyani Indrawati, Minister of Finance in Indonesia, stresses on how investments in good quality education is a strong human capital strategy for their country to become globally competitive. Let's listen.
Currently, the president is really focusing on how we are going to make Indonesia to become an established middle income going to the high income country. And that means we have to invest in human capital, and that's why our spending on education and health and social protection is very important, because sharing prosperity and growing middle class will make Indonesia to become a good middle-income country. And we also invest in infrastructure. You mentioned about 1,000 islands that we are having. Yes, and they need to be connected to become one single market, but also not only connected within, but also with the region.
But within the...
So that's why we need to have a lot of governance and reform. And this is the focus of the president now. And the cabinet is really busy in really making sure that the deeper reform is going to be delivered.
And finally, Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa, summarizes that it is not really the tangible things that matter the most. Instead, it is human capital. Let's watch.
In our society, there are many, many, many among our people, South Africans, who are trying to do something that's positive and that is good. And fortunately, it's about education. Because in the end, it's not your platinum deposits or whatever else this country has, or the gas that was found by Total deep in the oceans. It's not so much those things that are going to change our situation for the better. It's people. Empowered people, capacitated people. What is sometimes called human capital. So I'm saying that here today, this evening, we had very, very good news, which tells a story which is the opposite of this negative one I'm trying to relate. Which therefore says there is no need to despair.
Here at the EGDC and EBS, we define human capital as the stock of knowledge, habits, wellness, attitude, and other personal attributes, especially creativity, innovation, skills, and the ability to produce economic value. Therefore, human capital is the most important element for increased productivity, rising well-being, personal income growth, economic development, and global competitiveness. It is abundantly clear to me that human capital deficiency is the primary culprit for Africa's position today in global economic competitiveness. Across Africa, we have to be more committed to solving real sector problems by removing constraints to increase productivity. At the EGDC, we are developing programs with global dimensions for Africa to build partnerships, especially in the United States, where there are historic cultural ties. I believe that the best avenue for the fastest results is in engaging the African diaspora, consisting of African Americans of all classifications. A recent study has shown that the nearly 2.6 million African American owned businesses in the United States could partner with their fellow American entrepreneurs from other ethnicities to find tremendous market, investment, and sourcing opportunities in Africa. American companies are discovering eager partners in Africa in many areas, including agricultural equipment, automobiles, technology, pharmaceuticals, clothing and shoes, and others. What is needed is the development of value chains of partnerships where there is equitable and endowment-driven collaboration along the entire value chain. And as we just said, already there is a natural and historical relationship between Africa and the United States that is larger than anywhere else in the world. African Americans are now more rapidly connecting with the motherland, tracing their direct ancestries, and building enduring relationships. Millions of Africans have received much more of their education in the United States and are prepared to build greatly on that. As we discussed and saw in our Quick View segment, to be more globally competitive, we have to fight to remove the constraints that prevent or restrain investment freedom so that we can better partner with the world and reduce any financial, physical, or human capital deficiencies that are impeding the creation of economic value. I'm Magnus Paco, and that's my view.
Hallelujah.